super fun. Super fun. Grateful for the strength to do the things I need to do. Grateful for hitting $188 yesterday on my third week of bottom of funnel. Amber, congratulations. You are on a good run rate also. Congrats. Nice job. Grateful for my BOF accounts are thriving. Okay, so BOF is thriving all around. You guys are doing well. Grateful for strength to do the things I need to do. Grateful for my life, perfect health, my son, my girlfriend, my family, my friends, this community, and TikTok shop opportunity. Amazing. Grateful for another amazing morning. Grateful we have a task rabbit coming in an hour to put together a new IKEA wall unit thanks to the money Jonathan's making on TikTok. $25,000 last month. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Salt and water. 25,000 is no joke either. You guys are printing. Grateful for the power of focus and focus working in me. 100%. Grateful for having fun with TOF videos and learning every day. Good morning, fam. I'm grateful for having the mentality to keep pushing forward no matter what. Grateful for myself. Grateful for my viral page. Grateful for incorporating Goalie. Grateful to create any video I want today. Grateful for this challenge of moving and making the right decision for my family. Amazing, Mr. Josh. BOF is definitely thriving. Grateful for 3 of my best days all this month. Amazing, sir. If you had to start over, how fast do you think it would take you to make $10,000 a month? Do you mean like that's a very vague question, friend. It depends on you, truly. It's a very big question. Keep commenting though, Corey, and welcome to 6FC. How fast is very, very, very subjective on the person. Grateful for a super supportive partner. Grateful for my sister. Amazing. Grateful for knowing my BOF lackluster performance is due to me needing more personal development. Amazing, Kenny. Thanks for commenting that, sir. And thanks for being grateful for that. That's the kind of gratitude I look for. Amazing. Guys, remember something, and this isn't to be a Debbie Downer. It's to be realistic. When you start making money, understand that the most important part and the most important time is now. Because what happens is that you start making money and even though it might not look like ego, you will get a little bit of ego creep in. And it doesn't mean ego as in like, look at me. Don't disconstrue. Don't think that it's not ego. Like, there will be a little bit of, even if it's overconfidence that jumps in when you start making money and you're like, I finally got this, right? It's like you're riding the roller coaster up and you're like, oh, I finally got it. I'm doing it. It's finally working. This is it. You start playing out your life and you start planning, and like, it's good to do that in terms of planning, of course, but be very, very, that's when you're very, very aware of your mindset. Because what happens is that a lot of people start making money for the first time, especially in like that 10,000 to 20,000, 15,000 a month range when they first start. And it is when people think that they have it all together, they stop doing the things that got them there. And then what happens is their income goes up and the personal development process stays the same. They think their belief system's fine. They stop showing up to or they stop focusing on their mind for a couple days out of the week. They say they can kind of tone it down. Their mind is okay missing one day, even though they came every day. So they're like, oh, it's fine. I'm making 15,000 now. Like, I can kind of pull back. It's okay that I slept in today, right? And you start to like you'll notice little cues in yourself start to change. It happened to me. And so it's extremely important that you're aware of it, that when you start making money, you have to watch it. And then I'm not going to be the one that tells you abundance versus scarcity. Some people say, don't buy a Starbucks coffee, put it in the stock market and let it compound. And some people say, put every dollar on the line and it's total abundance. So I'm not going to be the one to decide that for you. I don't have advice there as to how you want to use your money. You've been able to acquire the money, and I don't have enough decades on life to tell you my personal preference. There's a Dave Ramsey preference, and there's a opposite abundant mindset preference. It's up to you. Grateful for experience. Grateful my son is coming home today. Amazing. Grateful for life and opportunity. Amazing. We have a birthday. Grateful for God's grace in turning 40 yesterday. Amazing, Pam. Oh, Pamela. Pam? Wait. Okay, so you have one account named Pam Dell, then another name that's just a girl named Pamela. Okay, so your name's Pamela, but also Pam. What's Pam Dell? Is that your last name, Dell? Also, happy birthday. Amazing. All right, guys, I'm scrolling to the bottom. I got a few violation points that made me check that mindset I learned. I'm grateful for that. Onward and upward, 100%. Ooh, okay, I have 4 accounts. Pamela Del Angel. Amazing. So your name's Pamela. Amazing. Grateful I've had my last $5 to give to the homeless man that was just sitting in the side of the parking, not begging, but singing songs of Jesus. I kissed him in his dirty cheek when he said, "I don't need this. I have Jesus. Bless you, my sister." Amazing. Grateful for violations because it reminds me of my mindset and how much I've grown. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get into a chapter of the book, the most important chapter, not chapter number 8. One sec. Also, we must remind ourselves of first, let's remind ourselves of the different buckets of society. Okay, guys, as you can see, there are 5 different levels to a human's consciousness level. Especially, this is like very apparent. Well, this is apparent everywhere, but this is just your consciousness levels, right? Consciousness equals awareness, right? So when I say the most important thing is awareness, of being aware of your thoughts, all it is to be the most aware, like that's what enlightenment is. First off, like the frequency stuff and Buddha and stuff like that, that's all enlightenment, right? Leading you to enlightenment. How do you become an enlightened one, right? Which literally translates to how do you have ultimate awareness, right? Like it's just the world just is, it just is, and it's just like you have ultimate awareness, right? And people who make more money, they are more aware than the next person that doesn't make money. It is seriously like an A equals B type thing. Like the person that makes more money than you is just simply more aware than you, right? Like even if some random kid on the street made $14 million in crypto, guess what? He was still more aware than you because he decided to take that action. He decided to find it. That's awareness, right? But this applies to everything. I apply it to business too, but it applies to self, which is most important first, self-awareness. But it also applies to business, guys. Like you being aware of what's happening in TikTok Shop, you being aware of things, right? It's almost like these stockbrokers. They're always aware of the news. Like I have this like image in my head of a stockbroker who watches the news at like 5 a.m. They sit there with their coffee and they just sit on the couch and they stand up and they watch the news about, Bloomberg, whatever finance news, like watching the markets. I've always had that in my head, that image. Yes, that guy. He's just sitting there drinking coffee, watching the news, the finance. Oh no, oil. Okay. Anyway, it's a game of awareness, right? So middle class consciousness people make up 70% and below a total of 85%. It's way more than that. It is definitely 95%. In terms of world class consciousness, there ain't no shot. It's 5% of the population, not even a chance in hell. It's definitely 1% of 1%. So, anywho, the middle class consciousness, I look at it as 2 buckets, right? Because like poverty class is like places that literally are poverty. Like they don't even have awareness of anything. There's no consciousness. Unfortunately, they don't. It's places, deep pockets in third world countries, right? That are truly poverty level thinking, and they don't even have like their thoughts are just survival thoughts, right? That's such a low level of consciousness that there is no thoughts beyond just trying to survive. It's sad, but that is like lowest level poverty consciousness, right? Working class consciousness is getting a little more. They're more playing the victim. Like if you notice people who play the victim role in like a working class consciousness, they're working paycheck to paycheck. This is like basically where this is where you're starting to get into. It's starting to mix with middle class. Middle class is a pretty big is our biggest population, right? So, but it starts getting into the same belief system. But I bucket it even upper class. I bucket all of these, except I bucket all of them together, even upper class consciousness. And the main difference between upper class and world class consciousness is ego. In the upper class consciousness, the person makes a lot of money, but their ego is in the way, so they can't make more money, or they can't serve the world, or it's for them, it's selfish reasons, the money is all for them, etc., etc. So it's the ego thing that's in the upper class, and it limits someone to get to the world class, right? Your ego, guys, how you get to enlightenment, right? It's like all being, there is no ego, right? It's all about spiritual, right? There is no ego. That's why upper class gets fixed, and they start hitting internal walls and caps in their life, whether they can't make more than, even if it's $1 million a year, that's a lot of money, right? But from a concept of like upper class versus world class, they still hit walls, right? Limiting beliefs, they limit themselves because of their ego, right? The main difference is an ego thing. Okay, so anywho, I bucket just two buckets to make it very simple. I bucket it in my head very simply with two buckets. You have middle class people, middle class conscious thinking, and that thought, that it's just like a cup, right? In that cup is a bunch of beliefs and a bunch of thought loops. When I say thought loops, I mean like a typical loop is, for example, information comes in the brain. Like, for example, something happened in your personal life that's bad. That information controls your thinking, right? It makes you think new things like, oh no, what's happening? Like blah, 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 blah. That makes you feel a certain state like depression or anxiety or worry or sadness, etc. That makes you act in a certain way, whether you grab cheese puffs and go try to avoid the conflict, or you smoke weed or drink alcohol or do something like that. And then your outcomes change, all based on the information that you've been fed your mind, right? That is what I mean, guys, when I say thought loops, right? You guys can see right here, this is a loop, right? A classic loop. And so when I say the masses have a giant bucket of thought loops, what I mean is that the masses all operate the same in loops. They all have the same loops, right? How they deal with stress is most likely the same exact thought loop, just different mechanisms to avoid the pain, right? Avoid the stress or anxiety that's in their life. There's different mechanisms, there's different solutions for them each, right? One will smoke weed, the other will drink alcohol, the other will scroll on social media, the other will try to call someone or talk to people so that they don't have to deal with their problems, right? Also, there's another major loop, which is like in the working class, it's mostly 9 to 5ers, right? So they'll have the same exact overarching common denominators loops after work. They'll have the same common denominator loops. Like you can basically define, right, in common denominators, like, is it more likely that the mass mind person is going to go off of work and into consumption or production? They're most likely going to go into consumption, right? Like if you think about it from a common denominator standpoint, and you think about it very big, like, I like to, this is how I comprehend it in my brain. When I say the masses, what I mean by that is the 99%. And when I say the masses, what I mean, and when I say they all have the similar thought loops, I see it as one person. Okay? Like if you were to literally give one person a core skills, beliefs, and traits, bunch of thought loops and beliefs, it could almost spread across all of the nine. We're talking about, right? We're talking about hundreds of millions of people in terms of America, right? We're talking about a lot of people, right? It would spread. It would not spread. It would be the same common denominator spread across all of the 99%. Every person would have the same common denominator as one. And so I see it as one, like literally almost one person. And yes, there's different beliefs and thoughts, and everyone grew up different, and every human is different. Some have good beliefs and also bad beliefs. Some want to work, like it's not about being in a 9 to 5. That's not the actual problem, right? You're not a mass mind person because you're in a 9 to 5 job. That doesn't make you that doesn't make you a part of the masses, right? Whatsoever. It doesn't. But does it put you into a certain class, and then that certain class gives you beliefs? Like if you are in a 9 to 5, you will most likely have very common beliefs with the other person that's in a 9 to 5, and they might not be the best beliefs. They might be limiting beliefs. Like you might value security, or do you value security? Right. So like the average person, for the mastermind thinker who's not an entrepreneur, sorry, that's working in a job, they're most likely long for security. So you could fulfill them by giving them secure positions and roles, and even in other areas that aren't finances, giving them security is what they want, right? So you could define people's belief system like um it's very interesting, guys, because in like some of the deep studies of people and human behavior as a whole, and especially like um different psychological studies and stuff, uh, like being able to understand people. What's funny is that basically, because we all have such common denominators and beliefs about us, like me asking you the question whether you used to eat at home when you were young with your family and what was that like, or you used to eat out, or you guys never ate at the dinner table, will tell you a lot about a person in terms of their entire system of beliefs, because that's how their parents thought and they passed it on to the kids, which is you. And so to a person that understands, like, for example, these agents and like psyops and stuff like that, these people will understand very simply how to all they have to do is ask questions to understand your entire belief system, right? And what's funny is that all the information you've been fed throughout childhood and stuff is genuinely who you are today. And it goes a lot deeper than just, right? Like I tell you guys all the time, there's not hundreds of thought loops, there's thousands, right? It takes a lot to have to figure it all out, right? Like I'm only 1 year in, I have decades, right? I have my entire life ahead of me to have to understand and cut all these loops in, right? And a lot of times we catch the loops on morning mindset. I don't know if you're aware of like, oh, this is a loop right now, but we catch them all the time. Like I've probably caught maybe close to, I don't even know how many on morning mindset, like probably 100 plus. I'll catch it and I'll say it, and then I don't like state that this is a loop right now, but I'll have an epiphany and I'll catch it, right? And so that's like the entire concept, is to constantly catch them, your limiting beliefs, because they're subconscious. You're not consciously aware of it, right? Your subconscious mind is just trying to make you a more efficient person. It's trying to conserve your energy, right? You don't want to have to think about blinking. If you had to think about blinking, you would exert a lot of energy. You would be tired a lot faster, right? If you had to think about that, you have to brush your teeth with your left or right hand today, and you had to make the choice every day, you would exert a lot more energy as a human, right? So your subconscious mind is just trying to it's just trying to save you and conserve you energy. So it builds efficient systems for you. It makes you an efficient human. And your mind can't comprehend, your subconscious mind doesn't have a, well, this is a question for another day, but your subconscious mind doesn't have a mind to look at it and say, is this morally, or is this right or wrong in terms of the subconscious? It doesn't know, right? And so if you feed it that you're becoming a millionaire, it doesn't know if that's real or fake. It just starts to work in your favor to make you a more efficient human. Right? Like whether you chose to brush your teeth with the left hand or right hand is not up to your subconscious. You just give your subconscious the information, and your subconscious goes, okay, let's brush your teeth with the left hand. That's the new habit. That's the habitual nature of us, so that we can become more efficient. Right? So in terms of, a lot of people look at the subconscious, like you can identify like all of your habits are subconsciously driven, but the most important habits are the mental habits, and no one looks at that. The subconscious mind develops all of these mental habits for you to try to conserve your energy. And what happens is that we grow up, we feed a ton of information, and even now in the past year, you feed a ton of information to yourself, and all of the information going into your mind, you're not aware that the mind is building a habit for you to think about certain things. Like when you think about money and how much money that you want to make, you have a habit of thinking about how much money you want to make. And so your subconscious mind has developed a efficient way to conserve your energy of the habit of how you think about money and how much money you want to make. So it's like the subconscious mind will tell you, wait, we want to here. Like it doesn't make you think every time. You're not like, how much money do I want to make? No, like you pretty much like say like you always have like a response like, oh, I'd like to make 10 to 20 grand a month. That's just your subconscious mind. It's just, I'd like to make 10 to 20 grand a month. Right. And so it builds all these little loops in your head and thought tracks in your head so that you don't have to think about them. And that's the problem, is that most people don't comprehend that fully and don't realize it. And so what happens is that their subconscious mind is not in congruency with what they want. Their subconscious mind has built all of these systems just to try to help you out. It doesn't like Kenny said, it doesn't reason. It's just trying to help you. It doesn't know what's real or fake. If you've told your subconscious mind every day, if you fed nonstop the thoughts, like the belief system, but even that you're becoming a millionaire, and you just kept deluding yourself into that, and you kept making up these stories in your head, these visualizations of when you're a millionaire, your mind just starts working towards it. It doesn't know it's real or fake. It's just trying to conserve energy. It's like, okay, we're a millionaire. We have to conserve energy. Here's how to conserve energy. Like, and then it works towards making you a millionaire, because it's like, it actually exerts more energy to think like poverty if that's not how you've been thinking, right? Because your mind just developed a system for it, right? So it's very interesting. What if someone takes the way that I want to make 20 grand a month and replaced it with I want to be best at X? There is no capital limitations or attachment to money on the second. 100%. 100%. The problem is that is a reframe of information, which is 100% correct. That is how we know how to do it. Like 100%. That's how we should do it. 136 of us. But outside this little circle right here, I'm talking the people in 6FC that don't show up or listen. I'm talking the people outside of 6FC, the everyday mass mind person. I will say that because they've been so driven by consumerism all their life and the gratification side of things, I'll answer in a second, Cynthia. It's just, it's, let me think on that more before I answer that. Cynthia says, what's best though? It's less quantifiable. Well, it's not what is best, right? Like it's not the concept that you're removing. I don't think the concept is removing like your money goal, right? Because as an entrepreneur, your leaderboard, your scoreboard is money. So you need to have that monetary level component to it, right? Because if I say I want to make $100,000 in a month, then I know what I have to do to make 100 grand in a month. But if I say 10 million a month and that's my quantifiable goal, things change. Things have to change because what's currently has me here does not have me in the future. And so things have to change, right? Now, how I say that is like, okay, well, if I want to make $10 million a month, who do I have to become to make $10 million a month? And what do I have to be best at? And $10 million a month is no joke. That's $100 million a year. Who do I have to become, Jordy? What skills at the highest level do I have to become? I have to become a master at multiple skills. In order for the lockbox combination, in order for me to get the code right so that it opens up the door, the lockbox to $100 million a year, I have to become master at multiple skills that combine together. And so I think it's both. I think for sure it's very subjective here. There's a lot more context here because when you get into business, if this is what you say, like you have to understand, guys, the reason the 99% don't make it to the 1% when they start new businesses is simply because they have the wrong belief system about the business itself. I know I've said that so many times, and I know it hits someone every single time. I know that's the effing answer. Like, I can't wait to say it on a podcast. I know it's the effing answer because I never heard people say this, and it's the truth. Because when you get into a side hustle, when you get into a business model, if you look around, and when I say look around, quote unquote, I mean, let's say you get into a business model like 6FC with 1,000 other people, right? 10% of 1,000 is 100, 1% of 1,000 is 10, right? You'll notice that, right? The 1% who made $40,000 plus, $30,000 plus, right, are the 1%. And there's also strong denominators between them. But anyway, you need to understand that when you get into a business model, if you quote unquote look around, not physically look around because you're by yourself doing a business, right? But if you quote unquote look around, what happens is that every other person starting the business has the wrong frame of mind. They don't have the right belief system going into it, and it's not their fault. They've been fed information that has made them think about business the wrong way. First off, they don't even understand money. They don't know money has you have a relationship with money. They are viewing money from a concept of pure low frequency desire, right? There's a negative frequency to desire, like the wrong desire, right? So it's the same. Like, guys, when someone gets into business, they want 20 grand a month for the thing so that they can have the nice car. And that is literally a consumer. That is how a consumer thinks. That is how a mass mind person thinks. That is the wrong belief. Another thing is that they will get into business and not understand that they want 20 grand a month for for out of specific feelings. They want 20 grand a month to get out of the anxiety or to get out of the low frequency emotions, when instead it's from taking it from a high frequency state in the first place. This is why like literally 99% don't make it out, because they're so focused on the actual business itself, and they don't understand input output. The mass mind person who gets into a business model, like for example, TikTok Shop, they come into the business and they are so focused on what other people are making, and they have such high expectations. And they have A, delusion, and B, serious delusion. A lot of people have very bad delusion. They're very delusional thinkers. They don't live in objective reality. It's a cold, hard truth, but a ton of people live in delusion and not objective reality. Number two is they don't understand the belief that input literally directly correlates to output. And input doesn't always mean quantity. It could mean quality, right? And so instead of getting 1% better every single day and improving their skill, what they do is all they care about is 20 grand a month. And every time that earnings tab doesn't show money, they emotionally attach to the output. And that right there is the typical mastermind person. Whereas the 1%er comes in, understands it's about inputs, and they get a greater output. You guys think that it's some like it. Look, I say this. It is not it as much as I want it to be. Even all my top 1%ers that are in here that listen to Morning Mindset, you can strongly correlate it to Morning Mindset. And heck, I mean, you could say it's cause effect, which it is 100%. But me as a person and all of us, you could never show on paper proof, right? And that's the hard part about showing the masses that this is real. Because you can't say like, hey, I went to Morning Mindset, and although like I know, yes, I took action, but why did you take action? Well, first off, you took action and understood it was about inputs. That's a change in belief. That's why you got a greater output, because you changed your actual framing of what you even thought about the business in the first place. That's why you got a greater output. So it's very hard to tangibly show that like mindset changes is what makes you the money. Very hard to like tangibly show proof and fact, which is why morning mindset's a hard thing, and selling people on just mindset programs is a hard thing. But it is truly cause effect. One sec, I'm taking a sip of my Nespresso. Okay. I really hope someone gets that, because another major thing is that people come into this business and don't focus on their skills, beliefs, and traits. All they focus on is the money, and they don't see a business. They live in such a, it's truly an awareness thing. They live in such a lower awareness about how business works that they are it almost hurts my heart, guys. Like seriously, like I wish I could just, I'm clenching my fist right now. I truly am, because like, oh, it hurts my heart because people literally don't have the consciousness level to see that they have the wrong belief system in this business. Like they're living in ground zero. I don't know how else to explain that. They're living in like, I don't mean to be woo-woo when I say like third dimension reality. Like I don't like that. I don't get onto all that stuff. I don't care. But it's like it's almost like you're living in the bubble, and like people who make it to the 1% see outside the bubble. It's like it's just it's super hard to explain. I think I'll comprehend. I think I'll be able to explain it a little bit better as time goes on. Um, but it hurts my heart. It genuinely hurts my heart because I see their problem, right? And yeah, like I see every single person who gets into this business, every single person who's ever been in a business model. I know the problem. Like I can see them living on a lower consciousness level, and it means awareness. Like they just don't see it yet. They don't. They I can't. I don't know how to say it. They just don't see, and that's why I always say the quote, once you see, you can't unsee. It's not a joke. It's literally not a joke. It's like an epiphany. You're like, oh my God. It's like almost like this is how life works. It's like a weird boom. Just this is how life works. It's a belief system thing, and my beliefs are off, and I think my beliefs are on, but they're not on. And you start getting it, and you start questioning things, and like things just flip. Morning mindset numbed me to the earnings tab. I obsessively checked it multiple times a day the first month. Morning mindset numbed you, yeah. It's just it's such strongly core. It's just it's so simple. Focus on the process, but it takes a while to retrain yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. It does take a little bit. I don't think a lot. Um, but it doesn't take a lot of time to truly reprogram. But man, does it hurt my heart because I can just see that the mass mind person gets into a business model, and they have the wrong belief system. They see it from consciousness level zero, meaning like they see it from the ground. They're not looking at the business as a whole. They don't see the longevity. They're not thinking years ahead. They don't think all they care about is instant pleasure. All they care about is the emotional attachment of money. All they care about is materialistic items when they get the money. Everything is wrong about the person coming into the business model. Everything, like genuinely everything. It's like 90%. If I did, that's why I don't do one-on-ones, guys, because it's like, bro, like that's why I do group, because it's easier to do group, because a lot of everyone plays like herd mentality is much easier to influence you guys when you see other people having success. That's why it's better than one-on-ones for me and mindset, because like it's so much easier to have success when you see other people doing it and you realize like, oh wait, this is real, right? And like it gives proof of concept, right? So I just like everyone has their own journey, but once again, like it's 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 truly an awareness thing. Like you just become aware. You become more aware of the world around you, and you start to see things differently, and you start to realize like, oh wait, and then you start to see, once you start making money, you start to look back at when you didn't have money and the people who don't make money, and you realize it for the first time. You're like, oh, they literally have the wrong beliefs. Like they see it as they see only earnings tabs. Like that's all they see is outputs. They don't look at inputs. Like you might think you look at inputs, guys. You might genuinely say like, oh, well, I've become morning mindset. I'm looking at inputs, outputs, and I'm not making the money. Right? Well, that's another problem, is that you put the inputs in and now you're expecting an immediate result. That's not how business effing works. It's like, it's insane, bro. It just gets me so fired up. It's like people will state, I've been to I do this specific belief, and it's still not working. And it's like, well, yeah, but the fact that you just said that is another belief. Like what every line that you will set, guys, in your personal life, when you communicate to people, okay? When you communicate in your beliefs. Like if you state something, you are going to state most likely a belief, right? If you notice your communication and when you talk, you will state yourself beliefs, and you will catch yourself very quickly. Like where did I even get that belief from saying that stuff? Can you explain more on inputs? Can you explain more on inputs? Yes. Very, very simply, very simply, an input gets an output. And what happens is that how do I explain this even more simply? You know what? One sec. Okay. I had to ask ChatGPT for a basic analogy. Okay. If you put in $1 and press the button for chips, you get chips. Okay. I know that's funny. It might sound like okay, but this is genuinely how life works, right? Like input has an output, right? It like that's just how it works, right? You input food in your mouth, like enough food, you will feel full, right? Like you input a McDonald's cheeseburger, you will get an output of brain fog or tired, or you will be more tired, right? You input, right? Like for people who are trainers or whatever, you input a caloric deficit and you lose weight, right? You eat more calories than you burn and you gain weight, right? Like input always has a desired I'm sorry, has an output. Always. Like there's input equals output. And so what you first have to identify is are you look back at your life. Listen very closely, guys, because a lot of people think that they're focused on the inputs and they have zero clue what this means. Look back at your life, past business models, past week, past month. When you look at your earnings, when you look at the things in your life that you're doing, are you looking at the things that got that outcome, or are you looking at the outcome and attaching emotions to that? Understand, please understand that. Like, it is very simple. Right? So, like, if I only made $100, do you look at the fact that you only made $100 and you're emotionally attached to that? Or do you simply say, well, I only made one video? Okay. If you say, yeah, but I made 100 videos and I still only made $100. Okay. That's another belief. It's a different belief. What your belief now is that you say that you put the input in and are expecting an output, but that's another different belief that's wrong. You're expecting instant gratification. That is not how a millionaire thinks. A millionaire doesn't think in instant gratification. They think in delayed gratification. They simply go, okay, I put the inputs in and I will have an output, whether it means a week from today, a month, or a year. Guys, this is why also, when you look, this is why a world-class person will say and reframe their brain by saying, not only is it about input outputs, every time I made those 100 videos, and yes, maybe I only made $100, but I made those 100 videos and I increased my skills. I increased my character trait. I stayed committed. It's a good character trait, right? You stayed focused. You stayed consistent. Those are all great character traits that make you a world-class person. When your personal development process goes up, your income must follow. You see what I mean? You can't get out of it. There's no excuse. Like some people will make the excuse like, oh, but I did this and I come to morning mindset and yet I still get X. Well, yeah, now look at that belief. You just stated another belief to yourself. And it's just the truth. Like some people get a little butthurt off of it because they're like, oh, so everything's the mind and the blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, everything is the F in mind. Like, it's true. Yes, that's the answer. Like, if you don't like the answer, go stay broke. I don't know how else to, like, I don't know. Okay, I had to stay sipping my espresso, guys. I'm getting fired up around here. I'm getting so fired up. Okay. Anyway, um, to go back to it. This is a good morning mindset. To go back to it. Very simply, I don't like talking too much on this stuff because it's so simple, right? Like you just keep repeating it, bro. Like input equals output. I focus on the input. Right? Everything you do has an output. Like everything. Right? So if you input a video into the machine, of TikTok, you get a view. You get viewers, right? It's an output. You make a piece of content, right? If you input making a piece of content, you output by having a video. If you input by posting the video on TikTok, you output having viewers. If you input viewers onto your page, you output $1. If you input $1 into your bank account, you output, right, more money, right? Like more money in your account, more financial freedom along the way. When you input financial freedom into your life, you output, maybe you have a better existence. Like, everything leads to the next thing. Everything is a literal input output, guys. I don't know how else to explain it. Everything you do, my input was I just clicked an espresso button and I output an espresso. I mean, that's just how life works, right? Like, I had 4 Nespressos today. I'm jittery. I'm freaking out. I'm going crazy. But you know what? That's a belief. And I like that belief. You know why? I don't know why. Anyway, sorry. That was a random caffeine spike. Sorry. That was a random caffeine spike. Going crazy around here, people. I think Ruben is such a great example to follow. When people were proudly sharing their April results of $10,000 a month, he didn't whine or complain because of a $6,000 month. He kept making his video. Month later, his videos that he made in April are printing thousands per day. Ruben's a very interesting case study because look, guys, everyone has their adversity equals a greater benefit story. It's so crazy. Like, all 138 of you guys, look back at your life. You had adversity. There were times where you grieved, cried, something happened in your personal life. You didn't see anything out from it. Like, you're like, how is this going to not end? Like, how does this end? How am I going to get around this? How am I going to get out of this? Life looked like crap. Like, it just, from the moment when you were in time, I don't know how long ago that was, you felt like you would never get out of it, right? And every adversity has equal greater benefit. Who knows? You could have found God. Maybe you turned into a Christian after that moment. Maybe you ended up making more money. Maybe you got fired and ended up finding a better job. Maybe you found TikTok Shop. Maybe you quit your job at adversity and then you made more money. Maybe you didn't make money on TikTok, but you decided to quit and then make money. And then boom, you had a greater benefit. What's funny, like Tim, look at Tim. Tim got laid off by his job, right? Tim got laid off by his job, and then boom, he does like a $60,000, $70,000 month next month. Literally just prints it, right? Every adversity has a greater benefit. Ruben has never done supplements. Ruben always stayed with no subs. He never did supplements, right? And so Ruben decides to say, I'm going to commit to supplements. Not only that, but he says he's going to decide to commit to goalie. And you know what's funny is that Ruben, because of that commitment, and yes, he was probably a little bit uncomfortable. He's never done subs before, and he's putting himself on the line to show all of you. Like, literally, everyone was watching him. And he even went to the mentorship games without a viral video. Wait, no, it was just going viral. Anyway, point is, it doesn't matter. So, point is that he goes into, he says he's going to do this, he commits, it's probably a little uncomfortable, and then boom. He does what did he do? $10,000 in a day. He did like 150,000 this month. Crazy. Literally crazy. Focus is also important. Don't spread yourself too thin. Yeah, that's another hour-long talk. I don't want to information overload, but 100%. Now he's sipping margaritas on the beach. Yes, now Ruben sips margaritas on the beach. He's done. He's made his 150,000 in a month. He's officially a guru, and that's it. I'm joking, guys. Ruben's probably making videos right now. He's gonna comment something in 3, 2. There you go. Now on the way to the gym. Yep. There you go. There you go. There he is, Mr. Ruben, the 00. Ruben's like a secret agent, 007. Why does he has a 00 in his name? Like Ruben, you know? It's a little strange to me. You know? It's a little bit strange to me. Ruben, 00. He made $7,000 in a day, 007. Something's going on here. Something strange is going on here. He's infiltrating the system. By the way, this is what happens when I drink too much caffeine. I drank way too much caffeine, like way too much. It's all good. My hands are shaking. My hands are literally shaking. You guys know that feeling that you get when you get like anxiety in your stomach from drinking so much caffeine? Like you get jittery. You guys know what I'm talking about? You get like jitters. Like, ugh. I have that right now and I feel so good. It feels so good. I feel like I could just like, I don't know, I feel like I just go conquer all of Earth. Too much Nespresso or Bustelo? Blair on air. Don't worry. I got this. Okay? Like, I promise you, Blair, it's okay. I got this. I can take the caffeine. Where's Becky? There's a limit on espresso every day. I know, my current limit is at, I think, around 10 espressos, and I'm good. 10 espressos, and I cut myself off. Drop a Neuromint in your Nespresso? No. I was into uppers when I was your age, Jordy. Brian, all love to you, friend. All love to you, friend. Okay, Kaishi, can you end the recording, please? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyway.